meeting for January 4th, 1996. Welcome everyone to the new year, both here in the chambers and out in the real world. Before we get underway formally this afternoon, let me inform you all, in case you aren't aware, that this meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel on the Sacramento cable system. Today's meeting is being cablecast live and will be repeated Saturday at noon. A VHS copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. We encourage those of you who are here, if you wish to address the commission. And in the event that you do wish to take us up on that offer, we would ask that you complete a speaker identification form, and I imagine they're on the table at the back of the chambers. And they're on the table here at the front as well. Once you complete that, if you would hand it to the clerk, we will make sure that you're recognized on the item in which you're interested. When your name is called, please approach the podium and give us your name as you begin your remarks so that we have that for the record. With that, why don't we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Why don't we call the roll to establish a quorum?
Cox, Collin, Natale.
Here.
Cone, Yee.
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Pratt.
Here.
Dickinson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. I'm going to assume that Mr. Yee and Mr. Waters know who they are, so you guys might want to turn your nameplates around.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everyone else knows.
Okay, there we go.
I'm not
sitting in a different chair.
Let's do something novel today and begin with item 1.
We have Sacramento Cable System Upgrade Activation Plan.
Mr. Chairman, gentlemen, good afternoon. Happy New Year. My personal appreciation for being here today. I know how hard it was to clear your calendars to make this schedule work. As you recall, at the meeting in December, Sacramento Cable described their system upgrade. That system upgrade is planned now to go in 2 phases. One is which is confirmed now on the part of the Sacramento Cable script system, and one for the future. For us, the issue was how to provide to Sacramento Cable's subscribers and to our consumers methodology for them to activate these new channels as their construction is completed. Remember, I told you and I told Sacramento Cable that staff believed it was in our consumers' best interest to have additional channels available. But the concern was the universal service policy in your franchise documents as well as in state law. And we needed to have protection that the cable company, if we allowed them to activate in pieces these 4 new channels, would assure us that they would complete the job in a reasonable time frame. And towards the middle of last month's meeting, I described to you 4 criteria that Council and I had developed and provided to Sacramento Cable. On the 21st, Sacramento Cable responded with a complete analysis of the census tract progression and the other criteria which we deemed to be reasonable. They provided a 1-year plan, the appropriate assurances from Sacramento Cable and, if necessary, from Comcast, that they will proceed in an orderly manner within the criteria to provide these additional services to our subscribers, or to their subscribers and our constituents. Some of the issues here are that as the system is activated by hub area and the maps that the chart is included, the additional services will be a la carte services. They will be available to subscribers who are taking the value packs automatically. They will be available to subscribers who only want these additional channels on an a la carte or individual basis if they so order them. No subscriber on a regulated tier will see a change in rates or services, or of the regulated services, during the pendency of this phased activation plan. I want to point out to you that when the system is completely activated, and should Sacramento Cable or whoever it is at that time decide to convert some of the channels from an a la carte premium status to a regulated tier, they can do that, and at that point rates would adjust accordingly under the FCC regulations. But what we have is, during the upgrade, no subscriber rate changes are allowed unless the subscriber makes that choice. They will have the choice of additional channels. I believe this is a reasonable approach to, we are not changing our universal service policy. We are drawing from the phased construction practices we used previously and applying them now to a system upgrade. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them. The staff recommendation is to approve the resolution as presented. I would like, with your permission, to insert the word video in the first line, in the second line, to clarify a request from Sacramento Cable, and if you would, authority that if there are any ministerial changes in the resolution, you would approve them or delegate to staff and council to approve them as well. Because of the holiday, the Scripps attorneys and us didn't get back together yet to finalize the product.
Okay, where do you want to stick video, Rich, again?
The first whereas clause says whereas Sacramento Cable, blah, blah, have begun a system upgrade. It would insert video there.
All right. Okay.
If there are any questions, we'd be happy to.
Questions of staff? Mr. Waters.
Rich, I need some clarification. Your fourth recommendation, just above your signature.
Page 2 of the staff report.
Page 2 of the staff report.
Right. What we've done, okay.
You say Mr. Val's letter offers to secure Comcast agreement to the upgrade, and then when I look at Wayne's letter, I don't see a real commitment there. It says the timeline is also subject to confirmation by officials of Comcast. And I'm wondering, what is our hammer over Comcast? I mean, it says right here that the commission we may deny approval of any such transfer until the upgrade is completed. But I would like to see some language in here that says Comcast will do what somehow, so we don't have to muddy up the waters by using the power that apparently is given to us to deny approval of the sale.
What we've done, Mr. Waters, if you turn to page 2 of the resolution, which is the last text portion of the staff report, we've asked that the resolution which you approved today must be concurred with and accepted in its entirety by Sacramento Cable, and that one of the statements that they provide, and this would mean that they're getting concurrence as well, is in subparagraph E. If the upgrade is not completed before the date that the Commission acts on any proposed transfer of the franchise and the Commission determines to approve the proposed transfer, that the transferee or the buyer shall agree to be bound by the terms of this resolution and the upgrade plan and to complete the system upgrade. So what we're proposing is that you authorize the resolution with these conditions on it, and then upon acceptance by Sacramento Cable and Scripps Howard, and if council so advises, by Comcast, then they can move forward. So it's up to them to come back to us.
Comcast would sign part of this, some document that would go with this resolution. All it says is that they will, but there's no agreement that I can see where they say they will take care of it. So I'm just trying to find out where, if they, and I don't expect any problems, but just in looking through this, I'm wondering if there's some way we can have them sign off that, yes, they will, in fact, abide by this resolution.
You could ask them to specifically do that at this point. We felt that by telling Sacramento Cable right now that this is what they have to do, that is part of their business dealings with Comcast, or if Comcast evaporates and someone else shows up in the next 6 months, so that you never get a transfer, but all of a sudden TCI is here or something, that you would have covered this by saying, look, we're telling you up front right now, if you want to go forward with this in this manner, it's going to be a condition of the transfer.
Okay.
And you have
to
obligate yourself, and once you obligate yourself and you say this is part of the franchise, then whoever buys it from you, whether that be Comcast or somebody else, is going to be bound because it's going to be part of the franchise.
Fine. That clarifies. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Yee.
Rich, can you explain a little bit to me about what the word universal service, because that's mentioned quite a bit.
Right. The policy of universal service is contained in your franchise resolution as well as in state law and your franchise ordinance. In practical terms, it's a policy by this body that there will not be disparate services in the community. Every neighborhood gets the same services all the time.
Yeah. All right.
If you recall, during construction, there were some concerns in one of the cable war battles in 85 or 86 that a couple of neighborhoods in town had not been built.
Right.
And we had filed suit and threatened bond action, et cetera. Again, it was that we had a requirement that the entire community was built equally balanced on socioeconomic basis. We want to continue that.
That's so the cable companies won't build the service to one area and then neglect another neighborhood.
Exactly.
With the full complement of the channels.
Right. Exactly. And what we're balancing here is our policy. Should we wait until the cable company has the entire system built, all upgraded, and turn it on at once, or should we allow them to turn it on in phases? And I believe it's reasonable, given a 12-month time frame, to turn it on in phases.
Thank you, Rick.
Other questions of staff? Just picking up on Mr. Yee's question, I assume at the conclusion of the build-out schedule that then the universal service requirement again becomes applicable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's correct. It's applicable right now. What you're saying in this resolution is, with these conditions, with this time frame, you can meet universal service because within 12 months everyone will have the same service at the same rates.
All right. All right.
So I guess the answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
When they're done with the construction, everything within the service area will have the same service.
Right. But during this interim period, and we do not, in fact, have universal service, even though we may be characterizing it in a different fashion. I just want to make sure that however we characterize the universal service in reality will again be the requirement at the close of the build-out.
Right.
Or the upgrade.
Right.
The upgrade.
And Sacramento Cable is putting the franchise on the line to ensure that, as well as our guarantee.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't have any requests to speak. Anybody wish to address the commission on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move, Mr. Chair, to approve the resolution.
Second. All right. We have a motion by Mr. Yee and a second by Mr. Natoli to adopt the resolution with the addition of the word video in the first whereas. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the motion is agreed to. Item 2.
Sacramento Cable, February 1st rate increase.
Chairman, members, at the conclusion or in last month's meeting, Sacramento Cable described to you in general terms the rate increase that he desired to take effect on February 1st. That got some press. We have had the formal filing from Sacramento Cable Television. I have reviewed this myself and passed this through to our consultant, and have provided you an analysis of what their rates are, a little bit of historical information about how rates increased prior to regulation and how rates have now increased since regulation. And the comment back from myself and from your consultant that the rates that Sacramento Cable has disclosed to its subscribers and to take effect on February 1st on the regulated basic service tier are nothing more, nothing less than the FCC regulations provide. And while it's not under our authority to review the enhanced service tier, that's under the FCC's authority, we have no authority over that to change it. But we did look at it and did review it, and we don't have a basis to recommend filing a complaint to the FCC for that. As you recall, in the past, when I have noticed that when I do believe that there has been a violation of the FCC's regulation on a service tier that we have no authority or you have no authority to regulate, I recommended that we file complaints with the FCC. I don't have that at this time. The only other comment I provide is that in the going forward rules to date, that's a change, one of the many, many changes that the FCC has had in the rate regulation structure. They allowed cable companies to pass through under certain conditions $1.50 of additional charges associated with new channels. Sacramento Cable, according to our consultant, has now passed through $1.49 of that. So they have, in that one category, have just about reached the cap for rate increases. This is an information item only for you.
Are there questions, Mr. Cox?
Rich, let me just ask a question. Maybe it's a simple answer, and I just don't understand the math. On page item 2, page 1 of Sacramento of your report to us, you indicate, I don't understand the inflation. The inflation on $10.63 is 0.33 or 33 cents.
That's correct.
but inflation on $11.74 is 78, and it's such a small amount of money spread out over such a large number of subscribers, it turns into be big dollars. How do we come up with 78 cents?
Right. I'll have to have Sac Cable come up and bring information. I summarized the category. It's more than just inflation. It has to do with cost increases in their programming as well. They have new programming costs and cost increases as well. So the category actually has a few more pieces in. The inflation adjustment, as I'm going from recollection, was 5.14%, and there were a few other pennies that got tacked into it.
But on the economy basis, then there really wasn't a 5% inflation factor there, because 0.33 is less than that.
Right.
So is this a cost shifting to those who have the ability to pay?
No, I've got to say that if we go through, and I don't know if I've got them all in the staff report for you, but if we go through the FCC forms, it's a separate analysis on both sides, and there's a calculation for the basic service tier and moving it forward with its adjustments, and a separate calculation for the enhanced tier. So there's not a movement of one to the other. We watch for and try and control for that as we look at the equipment basket, and there are ways that equipment changes can affect the enhanced tier, but they have little effect on the basic service tier, the $10 tier, if that helps.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I was just trying to, and looking at Jay Smith's letter, trying to determine whether some of that amount in both cases is attributable to the programming costs, additional programming costs that they are permitted to pass through. But can you guys explain it to us, this Sac Cable contingent?
Like Kevin, our financial FCC guy, is not available. To respond in writing to you.
Okay. Would that be agreeable, Mr.
Sure.
Cox? If Mr. Val would arrange for a written response to explain the 33 cents and the 78 cents, how they're calculated.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll reconcile the whole thing.
I can
That would be
provide that
great.
as well. The packet is quite thick, and I chose not to give you all of it. I'd be happy to bring it forward.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
only
Mr.
as a
Cox.
matter of information, it appears that because there really isn't any change in the economy basis, that for all intents and purposes, the only increase in that rate is that which is inflation, but that appears to be lower than the executive director has been talking about, number one. The second situation that occurs to me is if the inflation factor is also has to do with programming, that's already accounted for in this particular.
You mean by the category programming?
The new channels is up 20 cents. The programming is 23. As I said, when you look at it on an individual basis, it's not any real money. But when you stretch that out over some 300,000 subscribers or 400, whatever the number is.
I was just, Mr. Cox, taking a look at Jay Smith's letter, which is attachment to, and I wasn't making an attempt to reconcile. I just noted his paragraph.
I understand. I was just responding to Rich's. The other thing, Mr. Chairman, only as a matter of information, I'm a little suspect when we receive from a consultant, only as a matter of information. Now, I presume Mr. Smith is our consultant.
He is.
That's correct.
I thought that was the case.
He better be.
But I am a little suspect when I read the words, and I want to put them in quotation marks for you, sir, which says, since the amount of the reported programming cost increase was small, I did not request review any supporting documentation. Now, maybe it would have cost us more to look at that, but on the other hand, it's not a big number, but when you spread it over the subscribers that we have.
Mr. Cox, I supported Jay in this, and here's the reason why. We'd be glad to go back and look again. When we went through in depth the first filing with Sacramento Cable a year and a half ago, a little over a year and a half ago, on the first set of 1,200 forms, we spent 2 days at Sacramento Cable's office with Kevin Jones and myself and Wayne, and we sat at the big table, and they each had their laptops. And what we checked at that time was we asked them to provide to us copies of the programming contracts with the inflation clauses that were in them. And we went through them quite carefully as to where the triggers were. And we satisfied ourselves at that time that Sacramento Cable had appropriately put their contract numbers into the FCC forms and made some general notes about other triggers we expected in the future. So because we looked at those before, I didn't feel justified in bringing Jay down.
But you did examine them at another date?
Yes, we have.
Maybe that's a reasonable explanation.
All right. There's no action required.
Mr. Dickinson?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Yee.
Yeah. Rich, I saw the added cost for new channels, and it just keeps coming back to me, and maybe you can tell me again the reason for more than one home shopping network. Is that still a must-carry situation, or?
Okay. I can speak to the two channels which are must-carry. There are two channels that are regular UHF broadcast channels that have must-carry status. The other two that Sacramento Cable provides as a result of a contract relationship they have with the program, and I'll have to leave that with one of the SCT staff. I don't know what the terms are of those contracts. Again, in general, programming choices are the companies. We have not much to say or can do much about programming
that may be
selection.
true, but I get so many comments from the public out there regarding more than minimum number of home shopping type networks.
If Sac Cable wants to comment.
Maybe Wayne can talk to me later about how that situation is. All right.
Okay. Any other questions on this item? If not, as I said, this is not an action item for the commission. It's an information item.
The practice, the policy I recommended to you, and we've gone this way step by step, is that if there is a problem with Sacramento Cable's rate filing, I will bring it to you ASAP. If there's not a problem, then the ongoing staff recommendation is allow the rates to take effect without action on your part.
Yeah.
I have one additional question.
Yes, sir.
If, Mr. Chairman, if we do have problems with the rate increase, what time frame do we have in order to file that protest with the appeal with the commission?
With the FCC, you have 12 months on a...
12 months. So, prospectively, 12 months, we could even wait until December of '96 and file a protest?
That's my recollection.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
And that would be for the enhanced tier only.
For the what, sir?
For the enhanced tier only. The basic service tier is your authority to act upon.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Within limits. I mean, we do not have true rate regulatory authority. If the filing of the basic service tier, we believe, does not comport with the FCC regulations, you could certainly order a 31-cent increase rather than a 33-cent increase. Right.
If it were brought to you, reviewed in public, and a decision was made, and that would stand.
Right. I just think, Rich, it's important for the public to recognize that we do not have unfettered discretion in terms of rate
Absolutely.
regulation authority, that as long as Sacramento Cable complies with FCC regulations, they would be entitled to certain rate increases, and it's not something that we have any discretion to disagree with.
Our discretion is, have they complied with the FCC regulations?
Right. Okay, and the analysis that we have performed indicates they have.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions? No. All right. I think we can move on to item 3 then.
Item 3 is, just take
Staff
that real
status
quickly.
report. Staff status report, legislation, and general status.
First off, on federal legislation, it's finally starting to get real. This morning, I received faxes of real language, of statutory language that appears to be coming out of the conference. We had some scares last week, the rumors and some actual conference report language that looked like the local government positions were being reversed. If you recall, without getting in great depth, one of the things, the thing that local government was successful with has to do with authority over the right-of-way. There was language originally which said that local government actions over the right-of-way, and this just isn't with cable, this would be with the public right-of-way, a public works type function, could be preempted if actions by local government were found to be inconsistent with the policy of open competition. We lobbied, and that language was upgraded or raised to acts by local government which would prohibit entry of a telecommunications provider into the marketplace. Right now, that language stands. Secondly, there was language that would have allowed FCC preemption over local management decisions, public works type decisions on the right-of-way. And that preemption language, as it stands now, does not apply to local. It would apply to state. So that at this point, and we talked about this at great length in September when you made the distribution of your reserve, at this point the comfort level, the confidence level is still in the 80% range, but the last week has been very, very tenuous. As far as the overall bill goes on other issues, Mr. Dole raised an issue several days ago that may have enough stopping power to upset this delicate balance of many people. And this is the issue that the broadcast industry has been allocated spectrum at no cost, whereas other competing entities, cellular PCS, have had to go to bid and secure an open competition, open auction, rights to spectrum. That is a last-minute big issue that the Congressional Budget Office puts a $6 billion price tag on. At the bottom line, can I tell you that there will be a bill next week with the budget issues in Washington? No, but I can tell you that we are watching it. I spent a good part of yesterday on a conference calls, putting our input into the language, working with staff people in the California delegation, and in the next week or two, I think we'll know either way. I know I've given the staff report. The similar staff report on more than one occasion is getting boring, but it's getting closer, at least as far as the conference committee goes. Second issue, if there's no questions on that.
Let's see if there are questions. Questions on the status of legislation? Okay. Roger? Yeah, Mr.
Rich, when you're sure of some of these things happening back in Washington, are you going to put it in written form for us?
Be glad to.
Okay.
Yes. What we have is a 251-page bill.
Well, I don't want 251 pages. I want a summary.
When it solidifies, I'd be happy to summarize. It's been a gigantic state of flux. Second issue is relative to the transfer. There really is nothing new but of an official nature. I have no Form 394. I gave you a copy of an article that was in one of last week's magazines you may find interesting. This morning's paper reports, and I have just recently a copy of the filing, that the River City Cablevision, the Gang of 73, filed suit against Scripps on a series of issues. I've asked Harriet to look at the complaint. I can give you no assessment in this short notice that it has what impact, if any, it has on your activities over the next several months. We'll look at it. If there are things that you need to know about, we will certainly surface them to you. Over the course of the holiday, Council prepared and we provided you with a 4 or 5 page overview, summary, pointers about the transfer process. I hope you've had a chance to review that. If there are any questions, we'd be happy to address them. The points to make about the transfer are, and I think in some parts this applies to what may, with a capitalized may, spill over from this lawsuit this morning. The cable company, Sacramento Cable, has to bring to you clear and convincing evidence on 5 criteria, and staff has to bring to you its judgment about those criteria, and according to your ordinance, you have to make a decision based on that evidence alone whether or not to approve the transfer. And those criteria were spelled out in 1981 in the joint franchise ordinance. And one of those criteria is one that we'll have to pay a lot of attention to. It says the terms, conditions, or other circumstances of the transfer are not likely to result in an increase in the rates or charges for services. And that's one that I will have to pay a lot of attention to. That's a difficult, it seems to me, could be a difficult statement to make or to agree to with clear and convincing evidence. So that's an update on that one. And I'd be happy to take any questions if you have any.
On that item. Just with respect to the litigation, I infer from the article that I saw that there's not a request for any kind of injunctive relief or restraining order on the part of the plaintiff, since they said it's not their intent to interfere with the sale. Have you had a chance to look at the complaint?
I have not had a chance to look. Rich handed it to me as I walked in today.
Okay.
So if that's the case, we'll send you an update before your next meeting, but I inferred the same thing you inferred from the newspaper article, but
Okay.
That's as much as I know right now.
And back to the legislation for a second. Depending on what emerges from the conference committee, and if it emerges prior to our next meeting, we may need to communicate on behalf of the commission, consistent with our previously adopted legislative position regarding local discretion and control with members of Congress, I assume. It's just so if there's some letters that go out, no one will be surprised, and they will be, we'll make sure consistent with our previously adopted policies.
Yes. I would imagine that the letters would be very close to what we've said.
That's what before. I would imagine. Okay. All right. Any other questions from commission members? With that, we can go to item 4. Were there any members of the public who wish to address the commission on matters not on the agenda? And Eric Hoover. Come on down, Eric.
I'm making a little late.
Okay.
I made a decision
Hang on. That's all right. You can raise the podium if you want. There's a switch on your right. No, right there. Yeah. Press that. It says up. There you go.
I just want to, I know you guys have...
hang on one sec. You need to stand between the microphones.
Oh, okay.
Start by telling us your name and watch the clock, because I'm going to give you 3 minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right.
My name is Eric Hoover. I live in Citrus Heights, and I know you have your agenda about raising the rates on cable. And I know a lot of people are not able to come here. I like to give you a suggestion. I know you're going to make a decision on this matter. But I know you, other board members, I guess your city, have a phone number where people can call in. And I'd like to ask you a suggestion, maybe make a phone number and like hold off your decision and have a phone line people can comment, because I feel like a lot of people, I look at this room, there's not enough people in here, people are not going to make comment. To tell you the truth, I don't really like the idea of month by month, new cable channel ad, price go up. I just like to say that because I just thought it'd be nice, if I can call in and leave my comments, it'd be a lot easier. And also, this time people are working, they can't come here, or this crazy hour. I mean, I wish you had a better time because people to say something, because I don't think a lot of people have a chance to say anything. And that's all I can say. I just want to give other people a chance to speak. I like what Mayor Summer was doing, having phone lines. I just want to give you that suggestion, not just as board, but your supervisor, because it's kind of interesting. And I love the idea because I watch you guys, and I just wanted to make a comment.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Okay. Maybe we can consider the issue if we want to entertain the idea of call-ins to the commission meetings.
We're equipped for that. We can certainly.
We can do it.
At your discretion, we can do that. Just as a side, the city council chamber put in some better equipment than we have, so that works better.
Why don't you put an item on next month's agenda for the commission to consider whether it wants to entertain as a regular matter the opportunity for citizens to call in at the conclusion of the commission meetings, and I think we can always entertain meeting at a different time. But Eric, we have a lot of trouble, I'll just tell you, trying to find a time when we can put together enough people to have a quorum. So that's sometimes why we end up meeting during the day as opposed to in the evening. Okay? All right. Thank you for coming. I think that concludes business for the day. I do want to say, with the indulgence of the commission members before we conclude today, that I think we should note the passing of a life that was much too short, and that's the life of Ann Fazio, who died on New Year's Eve day. She was a person, as her father said, of indomitable spirit. She struggled against enormous odds, and she made a very valuable contribution to improving her community. I know that she will be sorely missed by her family as well as her friends, but those who had the opportunity to know her know what a special person she was. And so I would ask that today we adjourn in the memory of Ann Fazio.
Yes.
All right.
This commission stands adjourned.
Good.